welcome to episode 9 of my Knitting and Crochet podcast. Welcome if you're new here. My name's Sam and I live just outside of Norwich in the east of England. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. So my podcast will follow a typical format of what I've been up to, any finished items, any whips, also known as works in progress, and any new purchases and plans with those purchases, and any upcoming plans or events that's craft related. So first of all, what have I been up to? So it has been half term over the last week or so, hence why this podcast is coming to you a week later. I do try and post a podcast every 2 weeks now, but with it being half term, that's been a little bit difficult. But I'm now here recording the podcast. So what have I been up to? I have been to my craft group, which I hold with my friend Ellie. That is tonight actually. So every Tuesday at the Bull Pub in Helsden, Norwich, or just outside of Norwich, 7:30 in the evening until close really. I have mentioned that on my podcast before, that's the craft group that we run. So if you are local to the area looking for a craft group, feel free to pop us a message. You're more than welcome. I have been fitting in a bit of knitting and crochet. Obviously with it being half term, I have had annual leave, so I've had time off work, which has been nice. And I've been able to fit more into my weekly crafting vlog, which I do post on a weekly basis. If you haven't seen that already, I will link the last one below, but I have loads of others if you want to go check them out on my channel. So apart from that, I haven't really been up to much. Yeah. So let's get into the finished items, which I have one. This is going to be very hard to show you on camera because it is very long, but this is my Sophie shawl. So I opted to do the large one, hence why I can't fit it on the camera. But yeah, it's very large and I will get so much wear out of this in the winter. Not sure how I'm going to wear it. I'm going to wear it this way. Oh yeah, that's cozy. So that is very nice. Very, very cozy. Obviously with it being spring, the weather's warming up. I'm not going to be wearing this anytime soon. This is going to be for winter. So anyway, yeah, I done the large version of the Sophie shawl. You have got the option to do other sizes. So this is the Sophie shawl, and you do have the option to do a small, medium or large. I chose the large version and it is very long. I've wrapped it round sort of once. I have got a bit of a long tail here, but I don't mind that. I could wrap it around again or wrap it around a different way. It is a shawl. However, I tend to wear these sort of things more as scarves. So if you haven't seen my podcast before, I will talk about the yarn that I used for this. So it's commercial yarn. This is by James C. Brett, Aztec Aran with Alpaca. I can feel the alpaca a little bit, not scratchy, but you know, little tingle. So I hope that's all right. Hope that doesn't cause any issues. But anyway, this is the yarn that I used and it's in the shade teal. So it's 90% acrylic with 10% alpaca. So the alpaca content is quite small. However, I can feel the itch. So I used almost 3 balls. I had this much left. I have just weighed this and it's 8 grams. So altogether I used 292 grams and the balls were £3.95 each from my local craft store. So overall, fairly inexpensive. Right, I am going to take this off because I'm getting a bit warm. But yeah, the Sophie shawl, it was very easy to work up and it took me just under 2 months to make. It is just garter stitch. It's got an I-cord edging, which is really nice on both sides actually. So you start at one end and then you slowly increase until you get into the middle and then you then decrease. So it's a very long sort of triangular shawl. But yeah, this garter stitch makes it ever so stretchy and squishy with the texture. I love the colour, as you all know if you've been a regular viewer, but yeah, I just really like it. I'll pop it over like this. So yeah, it could be a shawl. Yeah, that's really nice. So I want to say this was my first finished knitted object. So the question is, would I knit it again? And the answer is yes. It was a very easy, beginner-friendly pattern, and I would probably opt to do the small version next time, just so I've got a bit of a smaller one, because as I said, I normally wear these type of things as scarves, so it would be nicer to have like a smaller version. When the weather is perhaps quite nippy, this would be perfect. And yeah, it's quite bulky if it wraps around twice because of how long it is. So that was my first finished object. I technically have a second finished object. You would have seen it in one of my weekly crafting vlogs, so I'll show it to you now. It's a finished sock. So this is my first ever sock. It was going so well. Until you get to the toe. So I'll talk you through it. So the yarns I used were from Craft House Magic, my lovely friend Ellie. I bought these from her from the East Anglian Yarn Festival, and I absolutely love the yarn. So the main colour here is called pink, and it's a 75% merino, 25% nylon, and it's got stellina in there. Can you see the sparkle? It's absolutely beautiful, and I just love the way that you've got loads of pinks in there. It's gorgeous. And then, hang on, I'll tuck my ends in. I haven't woven them in. And then this one here was a mini skein. It didn't have a name on it. It was just like a random mini skein, but it's in the colour navy, and again, same sock makeup, and it's got stellina in there too. So yeah, I just loved the colours that I chosen for this sock. So the construction that I used, I cast on 60 stitches with a long tail cast on method on 9-inch circular knitting needles. And then what I did was I did a 2x2 rib. This wasn't quite perfect because I had made a slight mistake here. I don't know if you can see that slightly, because you can see here where it's absolutely fine. So I had messed up by doing some purl stitches when I did need to do a knit stitch. So anyway, I didn't mind, I carried on. And then I got to the leg of the sock. So it's just basic stockinette stitch. It's like a vanilla sock, if you like. And then I got to the heel, and I paused on this for a bit. I put it in the project bag thinking, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then I just thought, right, I need to finish this sock. And the heel was kind of delaying it a little bit. I'd never made socks before, and I didn't know what type of construction to do it in. So I went onto YouTube and I looked up some tutorials, and I come across the Nerdy Knitting YouTube channel, and she did a tutorial on how to knit socks on 9-inch circular knitting needles, and she did this sort of construction with the heel. Now, I like the way that looks. Some people do like a heel flap and gusset, and if you're using like a contrast colour, it looks like a rectangle, whereas this looks more like a square. I know obviously you got the curve of the heel here, but I just like the way this heel looked more. And yeah, the construction, it was quite easy. I'd done this on 9-inch circular knitting needles. My only issue was, I don't know if you can see here, but I didn't drop any stitches or anything, but it did cause a hole to be in here and the other side as well. You can't see that one quite as well, but I've got a hole either side. But I've been told by some friends that I can come in afterwards and, you know, and fix that. But anyway, after I'd done the heel, I then done plain stockinette stitch along here. And then on the same YouTube video by Nerdy Knitting, I followed the, well, I followed the first step of how to do the toe, and that was actually using DPNs. So I transferred all the stitches onto DPNs, and then in the tutorial she said to split them up into like stitches of like a multiple of 8, I think it was, and then to decrease like every 8 stitches or so. Now I only watched that bit and I thought, okay, so I do that every single row. No. So what I needed to do was just do that one row as decreases, and then what I didn't watch was I needed to do a further 6 rows of just plain knitting and then decrease again, and so on. So as you can see here, I think I did about 4 rows of decreases, which caused it to rapidly decrease. And then I continued to do just like plain knitting, decreased again, and well, that's how I got this pointy toe. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, you know, that sort of look, go ahead, but that wasn't the look I was going for. Now, some experienced knitters out there would say, you know, you can rip it back, start again. I'm a beginner knitter and I'm scared that if I try and rip back, I'll lose stitches and everything like that. So I'm probably just going to put this aside. It's my first sock attempt, you know, which up until this point, I don't think was going too bad. I was so impressed with like these stitches. Yeah, I was just really happy with it until that point. I will probably put this aside because of the fail on the toe. It kind of made me lose my sock knitting mojo a little bit. I know this is my first sock, but it doesn't make me want to start the next sock anytime soon. Yeah. So I can't quite remember how many rows I did for the leg. I want to say it was about maybe 55 to 60, thereabouts. And then I did measure my foot. I'm a size 5, so my foot measured about 9 inches from my heel to my toe, and so I knit this portion of the sock. Oh, I've got a bit of a rash. Maybe I was sensitive to it. Oh my god, look at that. Oh no. So I've just knit my Sophie shawl with Alpaca, and I've come up with a bit of a rash. Oh God. Anyway, carry on. I was talking about the sock, not the Sophie shawl. I just noticed that I had a bit of a rash. Where was I? Yeah, I was talking about this portion of the sock, wasn't I? Anyway, I measured my foot and it was 9 inches. And in the tutorial, she said to stop about 2.5 inches before you get to the toe portion. So that's exactly what I did. And yeah, I tried it on and it fit. Even though the toe is pointy, you know, I can still put my toes in there, you know, that's not an issue. But yeah, it did fit, and at least I know kind of the basics of how to do sock knitting. I know next time to actually do this bit properly. So yeah, maybe when I get my sock knitting mojo back, I'll start on the other sock. But until then, that's going in the naughty corner. Yeah, I can't believe that. I did think it was a little bit prickly. And come to think of it, I know it's a commercial yarn, but with it having alpaca in it, it had quite a lot of, you can't see on here. Oh no, can you? No, you can't see. But yeah, you do have like the odd bit of hair in there. When I was knitting up with this, it just looked like every so often I had like a cat hair in there every now and again. Yeah, that's a shame. Might not be able to wear that. So they were my finished items. Now on to works in progress. Okay, so my first work in progress has been put on the back burner only until I get more established with my knitting. So it's the SDT, and I've got this far. I've literally done the setup row. So the yarn I'm using is one that I purchased from the East Anglian Yarn Festival. I bought 2 skeins of these, they're 4-ply, and it's from Pigment and Ply. I would have shown that in my East Anglian Yarn Festival haul video, so if you haven't watched it already, go check that out. But yeah, this is what I purchased from them for a t-shirt. So I did like the look of the SAT with the laced like sort of panel on the shoulders. However, I had to YouTube some of the knitting terms quite a lot, and it just was sucking the joy out of it really. I wanted something quite mindless and in the round to begin with. So this is worked by doing the back panel first, with like the lace shoulder details. Now I did revisit the pattern to look at it again since starting another t-shirt, which I will speak to you about in a moment, but I did think that maybe I would be able to progress a little bit more on that. Now I've started another tee. For the moment, this is how far I've got, and it will be on the back burner for the time being, until I've had a little bit more practice, that is. But yeah, that is living in a really nice project bag that I purchased from the Little Grey Girl. And again, I got that from the East Anglian Yarn Festival. So that's on hold for the moment. Next work in progress is the Moonlit Shawl by Sandra Paul. So I'll show you the yarn first of all. So this yarn is from Ducky Darlings in the colourway Illusion. I purchased this from the afternoon tea event that Shannon from Blue Fern Yarns hosted, and Hayley from Ducky Darlings had a pop-up shop. So this is one of the yarns that I purchased from her. This is a 4-ply yarn. And as I said, I'm making the Moonlit Shawl. So this is how far I've got. So yeah, I've not nearly finished it because there is like an edging that I need to put on there. But I will show you like the construction. So you start off here. It's crochet, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. You start here and you slowly increase and until you get to, where is it? Oh, until you get to the center. So it's not really a point, almost like a nice curve. So there is a straight section in the middle. I think that's why it's not so sort of pointy in the middle, because there is a straight section in the pattern. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and this is where I'm up to at the moment. So I'm on the decrease portion, and yeah, as soon as I've got, you know, like a crescent shaped shawl, in the pattern, you do go along the edging to create a nice border. I'll put a picture here just to show you. This requires like 1 skein of 4-ply, and I think that's why I chose the pattern, because I'm wanting to do projects that sort of requires minimal amount of yarn almost. I used to be like a DK sort of girl, where I like to crochet with DK. However, I have soon learned that you get more meterage in a 4-ply skein of yarn than you do with DK. And yeah, I just wanted something to use a whole skein of 4-ply, because this pattern is written in DK. However, you need 2 skeins. And in my head, it was more effective to use 1 skein of 4-ply. But yeah, I am liking the size, to be honest with you. So the reason I wanted to make this was because it was on my list to make, and at the time I didn't have a crochet project on the go. So yeah, I wanted to make use of one of my skeins of 4-ply and make a crochet project with it. So this is going to be something that I could potentially sort of wear, like, you know, in the transitioning phase of like summer to winter. No. Autumn to winter. You know, where you've got like that little bit of chill in the air. You don't quite need a full scarf. You know, this little shawl would be quite nice. As I said before, I use these sort of things not as shawls, but more like, you know, scarves. So yeah, that is currently a work in progress. My Battenberg blanket is also a work in progress. I have touched it in the last 2 weeks. I done 2 rows. And when I say I did 2 rows, I attached it like the other way, and I put a film on in that time. The film was 1.5 hours long, and I only did 2 rows. So it's gonna be a labour of love. It's gonna take some time, but it's one of them projects where I pick it up when I fancy it, and I don't need it anytime soon. I mean, it's spring, we're getting warmer weather, so It's not going to be something that we're going to be cozying up to on the sofa anytime soon. So yeah, I'm in no rush to get it finished, but is there to do work on as and when I fancy it. So next work in progress, which is actually my newest work in progress, is a bunch of solid granny squares. So they are going to be a Minecraft blanket. So in Minecraft, you get different characters. They're all sort of block characters, you know, pixelated. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a Minecraft creeper blanket. So if you know Minecraft, you'll know what I mean. But if you don't, I'll just put like an inspiration picture to the side. So anyway, I have made 6 of the, no, hang on, I've just finished one. I've made 7 of these so far, a bunch of these to be made. I think the dark green I need 28, the light green I need 16, and then the black I will need 20. So I purchased some yarn on the Wool Warehouse the other day, which is here. So yeah, I've got a dark green, a light green and a black. So yeah, I've purchased all the yarn that I require for that blanket. So I know we're not on the purchases and plans section just yet. However, if I'm sharing this with you now with the Minecraft blanket, I need to tell you what yarns I'm using. So these are the 3 colours that I'm using in the blanket, and they are all by Yarnsmiths Create DK. So I've not used the DK version of this before. I have used the chunky, yeah, the chunky and Aran weight. So with the Aran weight yarn, I did knitted beanies, machine knitted beanies for my craft fair last year, and I also used the chunky yarn to make crochet beanies with for my craft fair last year. I'm using DK for this blanket, and yeah, it's not too bad. It feels all right. It's 100% acrylic yarn. So this colour here is called Clover. This colour here is just bright green, and then this colour here is just black. So yeah, these are the 3 colours that I'm using in the blanket. So they were purchased on the Wool Warehouse website, very inexpensive at like, I want to say £1.95 per ball, which is very good. And as I said before, I don't mind using acrylic in blankets because it's easy to wash, and for a larger project, a bit more cost effective. So yeah, as I said, I've done 7 of these so far. I only started it the other day, so I've got quite a few more to go. And I will be joining these together in the same way that I joined the squares up, or are joining the squares up for my Battenberg blanket. It's a nice, easy thing to crochet up. I have, in fact, got a tutorial on my YouTube channel to how to do one of these solid granny squares. So if you are a beginner crocheter and you'd like to have a go, check it out. It's very beginner friendly. I go through it in detail. I go slow, so you know, you can make it slower. You can pause the video. You can do it in your own time. But yeah, these granny squares are very versatile. You can literally make these any size that you want. This is actually, yeah, this is the same as like the Battenberg blanket, but I just made it smaller. And yeah, very versatile. So as I said, I'm making the Minecraft creeper blanket, and yeah, my son requested that from me. He asked me to make him a blanket, and that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing. So yeah, nice easy project to have on the go. So I'm using a 4mm crochet hook for that, and a DK yarn. Okay, so my next work in progress is a t-shirt. So this is my first ever knitted garment, one that I've done progress on, that is. So this is the Tolster tee by Rebecca Clow. So yeah, it's worked in the round. It's a raglan construction, and I've learned how to do German short rows. The ribbing was it 1 by 1? I can't remember now. But yeah, anyway, you've got the ribbing, and then you do German short rows, and you've got raglan increases in there as well. But yeah, you can see here where one of my raglan increases is. And yeah, I'm loving this, to be honest. It's such a simple pattern, and just loving how it's working up, to be honest. I haven't touched this in a few days, only because I've been working on the Minecraft blanket, and I have actually been playing with Minecraft Lego with my son. It is half term, so I have to keep him occupied somehow, but this is how far I'm up to. So because that is my last work in progress, I will now move on to purchases and plans, and I will show you the yarn that I'm using for the Tolster tee, because that was a fairly new sort of purchase. I actually purchased the yarn from a D-stash. So I purchased some of these Drops Baby Merino, and I've never worked with this before, and I really like it. It's really soft. These are 50-gram balls, and from the D-stash I took 5 balls with a few sort of scrappy bits. But yeah, I've got 5 balls of this, which is enough meterage for the Tolster tee. And yeah, it's Drops Baby Merino. I looked at this before, and I want to say it's a sport weight. I thought it was a 4-ply, but either way, it's fine. I looked on the Wool Warehouse website, and they do have this still. So it's in the colour 42, which on the website is labelled as petrol. So, you know, like a nice dark teal. And yeah, it requires a 3mm needle hook with a 24 stitch gauge to 32 rows. It's 100% merino wool. So yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh, I love that colour. So yeah, that come home with me. And going on from the SDT, I wanted a simple t-shirt to make, so I chose the Tolster tee, and this was fairly inexpensive. So to do my practice on a t-shirt, I thought I'd choose this for my first knitted garment project. So I'll put that all away in the project bag that it's living in, because that was another new purchase. So I purchased the redesigned Project 9 bag, and I'm loving it. It's literally fit all of the balls of wool that I need for the Tolster tee, the printed pattern, and yeah, and extra needles as well. So yeah, I did the unboxing on, I want to say, my weekly crafting vlog. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out, but I won't go into too much detail. So this is what the Tolster tee is living in at the moment. My next purchase is so I have taken some yarn out of this because it wasn't quite the colour I was expecting. So I'll go through this really quickly, because I think I've covered this in my weekly crafting vlog that will come out at the end of the week. But if you don't watch them and you just watch my podcasts, I will show them to you still. So I purchased, hang on, oh no, there's another one. So I purchased these blue colours. These are, hang on, if I just show you one, these are Yarn Smith's Merino DK, and yeah, they're 100% merino wool in 50-gram balls. So my idea with these was to make a DK weight version of the litmus cowl. So I did buy a colour to go as a contrast, like in between them. However, it was labelled on the website as anthracite grey, and when I received it, it looked more like a brown colour, and that wasn't the vibe I was going for. So that's in a bag currently, ready for me to send back to them, and hopefully I'll get maybe a black colour, because black is black, you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, this shade of anthracite grey just wasn't what I had in mind, and looks nothing like what it was on the website, to be honest. Yeah, that's my plan with these, and yeah, I just wanted a fairly inexpensive way to knit up a litmus cowl. And then whilst I was on the Wool Warehouse website, I wanted to try out some of this. So this is the Yarn Smith's merino sock, and yeah, it's basically 4-ply merino wool, and I wanted to give it a go. I chose 3 skeins of this to make the Suri shirt, which is on my list, and this required more than like 2 skeins of 4-ply. So I thought I'll buy 3 to be on the safe side, and I think these were like £5 each. So it's very inexpensive. So that's the plan with these ones eventually. And then I purchased these 2. So again, Yarn Smith's merino sock, and this is in like a navy blue. So my idea with these were to use these as the main colour for the lightwood cowl. So the lightwood cowl requires 2 of the main colours in like 2 skeins of 4-ply, and then with the contrasting colour it just requires 1 skein of 4-ply, and that's in like a nice variegated colour. So I've got loads of nice variegated yarns in my stash. I just needed a main colour to go with it. So yeah, as a fairly inexpensive way, I thought I'd purchase these. So yeah, these were like £10 for the 2 of them, £5 each. So yeah, I thought when I get to it, they can be for that project. So they were all my purchases and plans. Now for any upcoming plans and events that's craft related. So on the 17th and 18th of May, I will be going to the Woolay retreat. So that's run by Lay Family Yarns, and yeah, I get to dye up a skein of yarn of my colour choosing. So I'm going there with my lovely friend Ellie. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that weekend. One big knit and natter. We get to eat food, get to chat, get to knit, crochet. So yeah, I've got that to look forward to next month. And I might, in fact, do a little vlog on that, if you like. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in. So that comes to the end of my podcast. If you did make it this far, leave me a tulip emoji, because we are in spring, and let me know down in the comments below, what are you working on at the moment? What's currently on your needles or hook? It's nice to hear what you're working on, because sometimes I get some inspiration as to what to create next. If you enjoyed watching my podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really does help put my channel out to others who are looking for this sort of content. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!